Body Language in Peer Tutoring. Our presentation by Chandler Bose and Melanie D'Souza.
As humans, we are complex social beings and interact with one another both in a verbal and a nonverbal manner. This presentation shall focus on the nonverbal but equally important aspect of communication at the Writing Center between consultants and visiting students. Nonverbal communication can be called kinesics. Eye contact, gestures, posture, and facial expression all fall under the umbrella of kinesics. These are all features that we can't help but observe during a consultation sessions. They are integral to the success of the session because they help us rightly determine writers' attitudes and take appropriate remedial action for the same.
We tried to look for a discussion of body language in our class readings, but we were unable to find any, so we looked elsewhere. In our search for outside sources, we found the thesis Toward Awareness by Marjorie Boudreau, which examines body language in writing consultations. There are a couple really important observations she makes that Writing Center tutors should consider. Boudreau says that the most important aspect of examining body language is the eye gaze, or where the writer or consultant is looking. She says that synchronous eye gaze, or looking at the same place, whether it's to each other, the paper, or off into space, at the same time, is a sign of a successful, harmonious session. She says that eye gaze determines whether silence in a consultation is interpreted negatively or positively. Her conclusion is that, while these patterns are not universal, and there are many more parts of this that beg research, it is important to make consultants aware of patterns and how writers can communicate non-verbally. We've watched a few sessions in the Writing Center, and through our observations, we've been able to see some patterns and tendencies in the body language of consultants and writers. While they don't apply to everyone, we hope that awareness of these patterns will provide better understanding for consultants.
Pre-consultation. As a consultant, one can observe the writer from the very first moment that he or she sets foot into the Writing Center. Some students seem timid because of preconceived notions of the Writing Center culture. Others seem confident because they might be regulars to the Writing Center and know the drill of signing in, waiting, and getting acquainted with their tutor of the day. Hence, this small observation can usually help us determine if the writer is a first-timer or not. While waiting for their appointment, writers' postures can tell us whether they are looking forward to their appointment or not. Lastly, how they approach their table and the consultant can give us insight into whether they are ready to work on their paper or not.
At the Writing Center, the triangular tables can either impede or improve the consultation. The irregular shape of the tables makes how the writer and consultant sit very important to the feel of the consultation. The first option is that the writer and consultant sit around the corner A as shown in the diagram. This option is very effective when working on a draft or any materials that both parties need to look at because they both have equal visualization of the laptop or paper and equal opportunity for conversation. However, if the writer wants to actively revise his or her work, an adjustment would have to be made that would likely cut off the consultant's view. That's why this method is best used when visualization is key, but active revising is not necessarily needed. Option 2 is definitely different. When the writer and consultant sit around corner C, they sit at a somewhat awkward angle where it's a little strange to face one another. Visualization is still possible here, but more often than not, the laptop and paper ends up getting easily turned towards the writer, or maybe the consultant, and cutting out the other party. This method still has its uses. For example, when a writer is just looking for occasional input while he or she writes. Option 3 also focuses on equality in consultation, as the writer and consultant sit around the most regularly shaped corner, corner B. The laptop is squarely in front of them, and both can have good visualization on it. This method is better for active revising because it's much easier for the writer to turn the laptop quickly towards them than turn it back. This feels very collaborative and close, although the great flexibility of reading a conversation that option A had is lost.
Table up and table down. Throughout the session as a consultant, it may be possible just to observe the writer that you work with from the table up. While this may be sufficient, one of our observations at the Writing Center revealed to us that there is more than what we see. Note, while we weren't able to record it at the time, we have been able to reconstruct our observation. Note how the writer seems calm and comfortable with the consultant. Her posture indicates that she is very attentive. She even maintains good eye contact. However, below the table, we see another story. She seems to consistently shake her legs beneath the table. While closely observing this, we noted that this occurred only when she was waiting for a response from the consultant or during a pause in speech. She resumes a calm position of feet when the conversation goes smoothly. Posture and attention. Posture and attention are extremely closely related in the context of the writing center, and therefore it is important to discuss the various behavioral patterns of writer-tutor interaction at the writing center. First off, physical posture can indicate the degree of writer interest in the session. Second, the tone or inflection of voice can have a huge impact on the comfort level of the writer. Also, the extent of academic and linguistic experience of a writer can lend itself to the writer's comfort, which is then expressed in the posture of the writer.
One important thing to consider in our consultations is how the location of our entire bodies demonstrates our emotions. In the situation of a writing consultation, this is especially important because we must make sure to make our writers as comfortable as possible. We can understand this better by learning about proximetics, or the study about human structure or claim space. Each person has his or her own space bubble, and inclusion in that bubble means different things. The closer you are to a person, the more personal relationship you have. The writing center falls somewhere between our personal and social distances, which shows that we're expecting our writers to allow us into their space bubbles as if they knew us, even though most of the time we are complete strangers. We can see these patterns manifesting themselves in the way that writers move their chairs. If they're establishing good rapport with their consultant, they may allow the consultant to move into their personal distance. If they feel some distance from their consultant, they probably will actually put some distance in between themselves and the consultant. A consultant's chair placement is equally important. Many consultants draw their chair up directly to the table, so they are sitting as close to the table as possible, with straight posture, while others might keep their chairs back but lean towards the table. Both postures display enthusiasm and engagement, but in different ways. The chair scooter is very attentive, but also more formal, and might make the writer feel that the consultation is more of a professional setting. The leaner is a little more relaxing, because he or she doesn't always have the perfect posture, possibly allowing the writer to be able to relax a little more.
Thus, we can see how studying body language patterns during writer and tutor communication at the writing center can give us an insight into how comfortable the writer is while attending the session with a consultant. This can therefore help us determine the success of the session. Thank you.
High five. It was good.
Sorry.
It's good. No.
I messed up the conclusion.
No, you're fine.
Because you said proximetics. I was like, oh my gosh.
Is it not how you say it?
Proxemics.
Wait.
It has no I in it. Or
You mean T.
T. I-N-T. That's, oh, well, yeah, you know what I meant. Proxo.